You buy an air conditioner expecting quiet, seamless comfort. But the reality is that without the right setup, you are installing a localized hazard right outside your bedroom window. Most of us treat an AC like a ceiling fan or a toaster. We assume you just buy it, plug it into the nearest wall socket, and forget about it for the next 5 years. But an AC is a highly pressurized chemical system running on high-voltage electricity. It pushes refrigerant gases through a tight loop to strip heat out of your room. Appliance technicians with years of field experience note a consistent trend. 90% of severe AC accidents happen because of simple, entirely preventable maintenance failures. And when we say severe accidents, we aren't talking about a puddle of water on the floor. We're talking about in-wall electrical fires and compressor explosions. The problem usually starts with a psychological hurdle. When the machine is actively blowing cold air, it feels painful to spend an extra 2,000 rupees on a voltage stabilizer, or 1,200 on an annual service. We look at the perceived ownership, just plugging it in, and ignore the actual ownership requirements. We convince ourselves that skipping these baseline costs is a smart savings hack. If it's running fine right now, why spend the money? Treating an AC as a plug-and-play device ignores the mechanical reality of the machine, creating the conditions for high repair bills and avoidable safety risks as the unit ages. The earliest mistake usually happens on day one, connecting a brand new AC directly into the existing shared electrical wiring of a bedroom. Standard room outlets use thin 2.5 square millimeter wiring. When a 1.5 ton AC cycles on, it draws a massive surge of power that these everyday wires simply aren't built to carry. Inside the walls, that thin wire heats up. The outer insulation bubbles and melting under the sustained electrical load. A safe baseline requires a dedicated 4 square millimeter copper wire paired directly with its own 16 amp circuit breaker. This brings us to the first trade-off. Saving a few hundred rupees on thinner installation wire drastically increases the probability of an in-wall electrical fire. The second electrical variable is skipping the voltage stabilizer. Many owners decide to keep 2,000 to 2,800 rupees in their pocket instead of buying a 4 kVA stabilizer. Without a stabilizer to absorb the shock, standard grid voltage spikes travel straight into the unit and instantly fry the sensitive printed circuit board. You keep installation costs low, but are effectively making a down payment on thousands of rupees in hardware replacement the first time the grid surges. Once the initial electrical setup is done, the next target for budget-conscious owners is the annual service fee, which usually runs between 600 and 1,200 rupees. Over months of running, thick layers of dust and debris silently accumulate across the outdoor condenser coils. This dust blocks the critical airflow needed to exhaust heat. To achieve the exact same room temperature, your compressor has to work much harder, running longer and running hotter. Inside, neglected maintenance leads to clogged drain pipes. The condensation backs up and starts dripping directly onto the indoor unit's electrical components. This graph charts exactly what happens when ignoring internal systems. As months pass, cooling efficiency drops by up to 40%. As efficiency plummets, it pulls your electric bill in the opposite direction, causing a 30% jump in costs. By completely skipping the annual service fee, you effectively opt into a mandatory cooling tax, paying far more in wasted electricity than the actual cleaning would have cost. There are specific early warning signs that owners routinely ignore: a faint smell of burning plastic, a quiet hissing from the unit, or a sudden drop in chill. These cues often indicate a leak of highly pressurized refrigerant gases like R22 or R410A. A visual indicator of a struggling compressor losing its gas charge is frost rapidly building into thick ice right on the exposed copper coils. Forcing a compressor to keep pushing through a gas leak turns a minor mechanical issue into a severe pressure buildup. In a closed room, it becomes an explosive hazard. When these issues pop up, the worst decision you can make is grabbing a screwdriver to tinker with the wiring yourself to save a quick buck. Inside the chassis sits the AC capacitor. This component holds a massive, potentially fatal electrical charge, even after you've completely unplugged the unit from the wall. Ignoring the environmental warning signs or trying to execute a DIY electrical fix takes a routine appliance repair and transforms it into a life-threatening risk for your household. So when it's time to fix these issues or perform maintenance, a local mechanic will usually show up, wash the dust off the filter, spray some water, and call it a day. A genuine, certified safety audit is completely different. It requires testing gas pressure, inspecting wire gauges, and verifying MCB health. That superficial wash actively masks internal electrical degradation. It leaves you with a clean-looking machine and a completely false sense of security. Certified technicians use genuine replacement parts instead of temporary workarounds, directly addressing the core mechanical faults before they fail. A premium service provides a verifiable safety audit of a hazardous appliance, ensuring the system is mechanically sound rather than just blowing cold air. If your primary goal is keeping ongoing costs to an absolute minimum, you have to look at the math differently. An annual maintenance contract functions as a financial hedge, typically paying for itself through a 30% reduction in electricity waste. If you are optimizing for peace of mind, demand transparent pricing from your service provider. Ask them outright if they perform an 18-point checklist before letting them touch your machine. The ultimate rule of air conditioning is simple. If you cannot afford the dedicated electrical setup and yearly service, you cannot afford the appliance. Home comfort requires the absolute certainty that your family's safety remains intact, regardless of how high the temperature climbs outside.